Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to TechGeek webinar series, our endeavor to impart techies. We believe that sharing of knowledge is the key to enhance our skills and grow us as professionals. With this principle in mind, we have initiated a series of webinars conducted by industry experts to give you all a crisp insight of various domains. The topic of today's session is Importance of Information Security Standards Compliance, and this is the fifth session in the IT security series that we have on TechGeek. Our guest speaker today is Mr. Kaleem Ahmed Usmani, Head of Operations at Computer Emergency Response Team of Mauritius, that is a division of the National Computer Board Mauritius. Mr. Kaleem Usmani is an experienced security professional and currently heading the Mauritian Computer Emergency Response Team. He has more than 11 years of experience in information technology areas and teaching. Kaleem has worked in various industry sectors including ISPs, textile, education, and communication. He is a certified information security professional, a certified ISO 27001 and BS 25999 lead auditor, a certified secure software development professional, and a certified ethical hacker. So without further delay, I introduce you all to our guest speaker. Over to you, Mr. Kaleem.
Hello.
Are you able to view your screen?
Hello. Are you there?
Yeah, you can start the session. We're able to view your screen now.
Firstly, I'd like to thank TechGeek. Yeah. All right. Hi, everybody there. I'd like to thank TechGeek for giving me an opportunity to talk into this particular session. Thank you so much, TechGeek. Ladies and gentlemen, today's my presentation will be onto the importance of information security standards compliance. So before I just start and talk about my presentation and then we start talking about the information security standards compliance, firstly, I would like to have a very quick introduction what I do and where I'm working, what normally we are doing, and then I think after that I'll just run through my slides and then the discussion we can start and then we can have supposedly a very fruitful discussion today for this particular session. So my name is Kaleem Ahmed Usmani, as just Mohini has told, and then I'm working as the head of operations for Computer Emergency Response Team of Mauritius. And just quickly, just to tell you that Computer Emergency Response Team of Mauritius, when it was set up, this is basically a national computer emergency response team which was set up in 2008. And this is an emergency response team which looks after, how we can say, the national level incidents. It talks about, how we can say, the information security culture within the country, and this particular National Computer Emergency Response Team, which was set up in 2008, is again affiliated to the Forum of Incident Response and Technical Teams. And this is, how we can say, a forum which is understood to be one of the, how we can say, most renowned forum for incident response around the world. And this CERT is operational under the aegis of the National Computer Board. And National Computer Board is a para-public body set up to promote the development of ICT in the country, and especially, of course, this is in Mauritius. Now, quickly, what normally we do, and then I think, these are the main services. And before I start, this is what I wanted to say, that CERT, of course, is a non-profit organization, and which is set up, of course, in Mauritius. The services, includes information security, incident handling management, and as I think you must be aware that as all the certs around the world, their main core job is incident handling, and of course, like we say, managing the incidents. I mean, this could be within the sector, this could be within the organization, this could be at the national level, this could be across sectors, this could be within the critical information, let's say information infrastructure protection sectors. So, I mean, incident handling is something which is done everywhere, and we being a CERT, we manage incidents at the level of the country, and of course that's in Mauritius, and that includes the entire cyber community of Mauritius, and this is how we call the constituency members. Now another, I mean, a service which we normally, I mean, which is already started here is vulnerability scanning and penetration testing of networks and the applications as well as devices. And this is something, again, we do. We try to scan, and then we see the vulnerabilities from inside, from outside. Pen test is done, and then I mean, this is another service which CERT does. And then we issue targeted security alerts. So, I mean, we do, how you can see, vulnerability analysis. We do, for example, reverse engineering. Based onto that, we try to find, how you can see, I mean, the weaknesses, and then based onto that, whatever the vendor weaknesses are there, we study that, and then as per, how we call it, say, those sectors could be a banking sector, could be, for example, let's say a telecommunication sector, could be, for example, I mean, let's say, I mean, banking sector. So it could be anything, and pertains to that, the security alerts are normally sent to them. Could be a product based, could be a Cisco, could be, for example, let's say, I mean, your platform-based solutions. That kind of, how we call this, say, alerts are normally sent to the, I mean, constituencies. Another service which we normally offer is the network infrastructure assessment, and this network infrastructure assessment, we just try to, how we say, assess the, I mean, networks of different organizations, and we look at the secure topology, and then based onto that, we advise, how we call it, say, the institutions how they could have optimized and best configured a network, let's say, implemented. Another service, I think, I mean, which we are talking about is that, and which is much more related to today's presentation, is the implementation of information management system based on ISO 27001 standard. So, of course, I mean, this is like, I mean, a service which is, I mean, given by CERT to the whole, I mean, constituency members. That includes, I mean, all the sectors from CERT, and we help them in order to implement the ISO 27000 standard, and that's, of course, known as the information security management system. And then this is another service which normally we do. And then other service which we are talking about is a third-party automation security. So this is, again, I mean, this service we provide. I mean, based on the request which we get from the, I mean, let's say, industry, we try to audit, I mean, their, how we say, I mean, organization, and then normally we provide that report. And then, I mean, we are having a security awareness and the capacity building program on information security, and that's one of the important component of information security, where technology update workshops and then capacity building, for example, different trainings, for example, could be, let's say, ISC Square training, or let's say SOCA training, or let's say, I mean, EC Council training, these kind of trainings which we organize and churn out, let's say, local professionals, and then they, I mean, of course, could be, let's say, gain experience into the area of information security, and of course, I mean, that could be best for the organizations in order to, let's say, I mean, in terms of information security management. So I think this was all about, I mean, CERT Mauritius, and this is, I mean, what we do. And I think, I mean, I'll proceed now to the, I mean, presentation. But before I could start, and I go on talking about information security standards compliance, which means that what are the different standards, security standards I'm talking about, which normally organizations are, I mean, adopting it, and they are complying to it, they're implementing that. But I think before that, I wanted to, I mean, let's say, portray and sketch the complete scene of, information security, incidents, because this is the reason why we are going ahead with the compliance, because normally at the end of the day, if we look at that what compliance does, so compliance normally what it does is that it protects, or let's say, the information, it protects, or let's say, organization's information, it protects organization's assets. So if we look at the glance of our incidents, so incidents could be anything, because we being at the level of the CERT Mauritius, incidents could range right from compromised accounts, phishing, back to DOS, could be let's say identity theft, can be, let's say, web defacement, SQL injection, that could be let's say email, let's say abuse, or let's say IP spoofing. So it could be anything. But before that, I wanted to sketch the scene, and that scene is, for example, we are talking about the incidents, and incidents are happening every day, and they are, however, increasing, let's say, at least 2-fold, 3-fold each year around the world if you look at the stats. So, for example, like recently on March 11, if you look at my slides, so you will find that a Chinese cyber attack on US. So what normally is happening that the let's say China is basically attacking to the US, or we call, let's say, establishments. We are talking about much more, let's say, their network infrastructure, and they are stealing information out of their let's say computers and information systems, and they are let's say using for something destructive. Could be, this is what is the news, and I think based on the news which is I'm talking about. So and then, however, say US is basically demanding China to block cyber attacks and aggregate tools. So I think this is one type of, how we call, say, incident which we are talking about. For example, recently, if you have let's say read in the news, it was a DDoS attack in Netherlands, and I think that was one of the biggest and on a very large scale, how we can say, incidents which has occurred, and where, how we can say, which has slowed down the whole internet all around the world, and the magnitude was of around 300 Gbps, and I think that's a huge magnitude of, how we can say, launching an attack. So another type of attack which you could just see that which was launched on March 20th, where cyber attacks paralyzed 3 major banks and 3 largest TV broadcasters in South Korea, and that was another, how we can say, a type of attack where the whole South Korea, especially their banking systems, and how we can say their broadcasting agency was down, and that has crippled the whole, how we can say, operations of these banks and the broadcasting agency. And then like, for example, on April 8, and that's of course yesterday, that's the cyber attacks on Israel, and that is of course you have you may be knowing about it, that all the internet services of, in Tel Aviv were crippled, were, how we will say, shut down, and they are saying that there might be a loss of around some $5 billion, and then the stats, they say that some 100,000 Israeli sites which have been attacked, and that's again it's huge, it's huge, and then for example, another slide which I wanted to share is for example March 31st, and then on March 31st, according to the 2013 global security report, which have analyzed 400 data breach investigations compared to 300 in 2011 across 29 countries compared to 80 in 2011. And unsurprisingly, 96% of the breaches involve the theft of the customer records, and that was the payment card data, could be, let's say, a PII, email addresses, and compared to 89% in 2011. So it means that what I'm trying to, see that the attack percentage is increasing, and of course, I will say that will tend to increase as, I will say, internet penetration is increasing, and I will say more and more, how we say, organizations, they are, how we say, onto the internet, and that is how we can say, that is bound to increase, that will not decrease. So ultimately, the idea of talking is here that since these attacks are increasing and they will are getting more sophisticated, and then they are very complex, and of course it happens sometimes that at the first go it will be very hard for how we call this system or network administrators to detect that the attack is taking place. So surely something what we are trying to talk about, information security standards and information security standard compliance. So then how do we say that information security standards are of importance and their compliance is important, and ultimately what the organizations they are going to get out of that. So I think this is the whole agenda of today's talk. Why information security standards compliance? Why we need that? Why it is important? What is important? Because normally, if you look at that from how we say, let's say medium scale organization to let's say large scale organizations, they are heavily dependent on data. They are heavily dependent onto the, let's say, network. They are heavily dependent onto the internet. If anything goes wrong onto the internet, or let's say, for example, let's say onto their servers, if there is, how we can say, a downtime, or let's say if there is, how we can say, a disruption onto the network, onto the, let's say, internet access, or let's say onto the data retrieval within the organization, so what happens that the business suffers, and especially how we can say, it suffers to any kind of, how we can say, amount or the number, and based on to that, what we need to have is that we need to have the information security to be put up in place. This is, I think, the first and the foremost thing. And putting up information security means that there are, however, let's say, a required secure or infrastructure which are there within the organizations. It means that there are firewalls, there are AVs running, there are, however, let's say, for example, secure infrastructure in terms of the firewall, in terms of the IP. For example, let's say, UTM devices and all, they have to be there so that these organizations and the perimeter of their organizations is safe from attackers, or let's say malicious users and those who can, how we say, attack and how we say, steal data. So based on to that, we need to have information security in place. This is one. But now once we have the information security in place, we need to have the standards. Why standards? The standards are needed in order to protect data. So if, let's say, I go back to my next slide, and I'm just saying here is that to provide an adequate level of security to organizational assets. So why I'm talking about, because let's say we are talking about security standards compliance, and once we look at the security standards compliance, so we are talking about in terms of assets, because every organization has an asset. For example, if I talk about a router, if I talk about a switch, if I talk about a server, if I talk about, for example, a printer, if I talk about, let's say any other device within the organization, so that is basically is an asset, and this is what needs to be protected. And for doing that, I think information security standards are the best way of protecting it. The reason is that using information security standard compliance, we will be able to check, we'll be able to assign ownership, we'll be able to protect each and every, how we can say, asset which we have into the organization. So simply, if I need to answer that why the information security standard compliance is needed, so the idea of information security standard compliance is to protect assets in the organization. Assets could be, it could be hard assets, it could be a software assets. We can have a software assets, all data which is, is stored into the servers, which are stored into the databases. That's of course an asset. If I talk about a physical, let's say data, these, hard copy files. This is again the part of assets, and using information security standards compliance, even these, how we can say, hardware assets and hard files, hard data, and that could be kept safe and secure. So based on to that, I mean, if I try to talk about the different types of information security standards. So I mean, like in order to look at the different standards, there are plenty of standards, of course. We are talking about the ISO 27001, and ISO 27001 is the information security management system which provides how we call the complete protection to the organizational data. This is one. Now, I mean, we have ISO 27035. This is a standard which is, I mean, a newly, I mean, let's say, built standard, which talks about the information security incidents. I mean, so we could have a number of, how we're going to say, I mean, incidents are on, and then how normally we can handle, we can coordinate, we can manage those incidents. And for that, we have the incident models, and then I mean different incident models from SANS, from the NIST, from the CERT, from the ISO, from RSP, and there are many other NISA. So these are the different, how we call, I mean, management, security incident handling management standards and the models which are used in order to handle incidents. And of course, I mean, we have a standard which is ISO 27035, which could be used for that. And then we have ISO 31000, that's the risk management, and I mean, risk management is one of the most important component of any information security standard compliance. And because, I mean, once we are talking about assets, so what we need to assess is the risk. So we have to have that risk, we have to manage that, and how could we manage that? Of course, I mean, I'll be talking about this in my presentation at a later point of time. And then coming back to the Sarbanes-Oxley Act of 2002, and this is, of course, I mean, a US based, I mean, act, which is, I mean, much more focused towards, how we can say, information non-disclosure, and this talks about that way. And then we have having the, I mean, HIPAA. HIPAA is again a very popular standard, which is the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act of 1996. Again, this is a US-based standard, and this defines normally the security standards for healthcare information. So, and then, I mean, we have the Federal Information Processing Standards, and that's again a US-based standard, which defines the security of information systems. So I think, I mean, these are a few information security standards compliance. Apart from, however, a different framework, like we are having ETIL, ITIL, or ETIL, the way you pronounce it as, then we are having the COBIT. So these are the different governance frameworks, which are, again, they go, I mean, hand in hand once we talk about the IS standards, or its information security standards compliance. So moving further to the discussion. Again, I mean, since we are seeing information security standard compliance, I mean, my focus for today's presentation is much more, how we can say, I mean, orientation based on to ISO 27001. So basically, here we can just talk about that, how the risk assessment, I mean, is done. What are the different sightings into the ISO 27001? What are the policy and the procedures designed? Information system audit. What is the gap analysis? So we are talking about the IS standards compliance. So once we are trying to comply, what normally, how we can say, I mean, organizations, they do is that in order to comply, they need to know, I mean, where do they stand? What is the status in terms of information security controls? What controls are in place? What controls are not in place? Controls means that if I'm talking about access control, so I mean, access control is, for example, let's say in terms of, for example, a policy, information security policy. So I mean, in terms of, for example, let's say human resource, how we can say compliance. For example, the contracts. I mean, if, how we can say, the contract mentions that there should not be a non-disclosure of information. So based on to that, the first thing which we talk about is the gap analysis. So we are talking about the information security standard compliance. So the first thing, in order to comply, I need to find it out what are the gaps. And for, how we can say, finding out the gaps could be a gap analysis. And for doing a gap analysis, I think information security audit plays a role, because I mean that could be a preliminary audit which is done internally, or let's say, for example, let's say from external player who comes and audit the organization, and then based on to that we happen to know, and by how let's say conducting a gap analysis of your organization, what is there, what is not there. For example, let's say if I say information security policy is not there, for example, let's say clear desk, clear screen policy is not there, for example, business continuity and disaster recovery policy is not there. For example, let's say there are no proper, how we call, let's say, authentication mechanisms which has been set. For example, let's say we are not looking at the logs, we are not monitoring the logs. So, I mean, there's no log analysis is done. So there's no logging who is using the system and what normally what kind of activity that person is doing. So based on to that, this is what the information security standard compliance talks about. So we have to have the gap analysis. This is what is done. And once, I mean, we do the gap analysis, after that we look at the, I mean, controls that if all these controls, they have to be put up. And how can we do that? In order to do that, there is something is known as a risk assessment. So we need to, let's say, analyze the risk. And after that, we talk about, let's say, policy and procedure design. So firstly, I'm going to talk everything in much more detail. So I'm just trying to give, I mean, a basis where, let's say, we could understand more. The first thing is the gap analysis. We, I mean, do the gap analysis. We find out the gaps, we find out the weaknesses, we find out the vulnerabilities. Into this could be into the system, it could be into the network, it could be, for example, let's say, into the application, it could be into a physical process which is there in order to, let's say, safeguard the physical asset. This could be there, and based on to that, what normally we do is we do the risk assessment. Now, once we have analyzed the risk, based on to that, we try to design policies and procedure design, and procedure could be for example, I mean, if I don't want to write a policy for a complete policy for clear desk and clear screen, I could just simply write a procedure for, how we call it, clear desk and clear screen that could be implemented within the organization, and then, I mean, we follow that. Now, the third could be, the third point is the information system, or let's say information security audit. So this itself is, I mean, a full-fledged, I mean, let's say, discussion of its own. But I mean, since we are talking about the compliance, so information security audit, or let's say information system audit, is the subset of, I mean, information security and compliance. That's why I think I want to touch this part as well. So this is like, I mean, information system audit. So this is again done, or information security audit, this is done in order to analyze the gaps, plus, I mean, it is done in order to comply with the, I mean, information security standards. So it I mean, works both the ways. It works for, how we will say, analyzing the gap, as well as it works, how we will say, in order to, I mean, check and how we will say, in order to follow up the routine for, how we will say, any standard which has been implemented within the organization. There also we talk about the information systems, I mean, let's say, or information security audit. So I mean, now looking at the ISO, what, I mean, how ISO, I mean, moves, and how ISO could be implemented, how could we achieve compliance, I mean, using ISO 27001 standard, for example. I mean, because as ISO, as like any other standard, I mean, the first thing which I think, I mean, we understand is that ISO is based into a, I mean, a cyclic based model, and since it is a cyclic based model, it is basically follows the very famous the plan, do, check, and act model, and in this, how we will say, I mean, there are nearly, how we will say, 11 domains into this ISO, and these 11 domains, and they are spread over 133 controls. So, but normally, once we say ISO, what it does, so ISO, again, how we will say, that provides the management controls necessary to achieve an organization's mission, manage risk, and then, of course, obviously assuring effective control within the organization. So before we start, I mean, talking about the information security standard compliance, the most important aspect, I think, which we should be touching right here is the involvement of the senior management. Without the involvement of a senior management, any standard compliance normally face. It's not really, I mean, possible to go go ahead with the, I mean, information security standard compliance as such. So this is, I think, I mean, something which I think we should look at it. And what are these 11 controls of ISO 27000? I think, I mean, if we look at, we start with the security policy. So it means that, I mean, if the organization, the first thing, once we start talking about information security standard compliance, whether the organization, they have a policy or not. So there could be different policies. There could be, I mean, let's say information security policy. All other policies could be the subset of the information security policy, or we can have, how we could say, an individual policy, and based on to the individual policy, I mean, other, how we could say, policies, they could be just keep on, let's say, I mean, integrated or this, into the whole organizational system. So this is, I mean, a security policy. I think this is one of the first, how we could say, in categories. The first category is the security policy, and then organization of information security. So this is, I think, the I mean, second area, second, I would say, domain, asset management. So once we are talking about asset management, so normally what happens? So once we are going towards information security standard compliance, so we normally start with identifying assets. So for example, and the beauty of these standards are that, I mean, they are normally, how we can say, cyclic based standards. And for example, let's say I'm having 5 assets today. And then, I mean, I can implement, how we can say, and I can achieve compliance using 5 assets. And tomorrow I'm going to have 10 assets. So of course, how we can say, this could be, I mean, updated onto 10 assets. So this is what, how we can say, we call it as an asset management. So it means that we have number of assets. So for that asset, we have to have the asset register. So now again, how we can say, I mean, assets are defined. For example, this could be categorized. I mean, it could be, let's say, for example, I mean, let's say hard assets, for example, or let's say, I mean, we can say hardware. We can categorize in terms of hardware. We can categorize in terms of software. Now we can categorize in terms of, I mean, hardware. I mean, hard information. We can categorize in terms of the soft information, and accordingly, how we can say each asset, I mean, and can be assigned an owner. So, and the most important part into any standard compliance and the implementation of any security management system, what goes on is that assigning the ownership. Because for example, say once we assign the ownership, so surely, I mean, that's very clear that if, for example, a server fails, so I mean, IT manager, the one who is managing the department, so he is the person to whom, how we could say, it has to be asked that what is the reason of the failure, and if even it has to be fixed, so through him only this is going to be fixed. So this is what, I mean, asset management. So there are 2 different approaches. For example, say could be event based, could be asset based into the information security standard compliance. So I mean, here we are focusing much more towards the asset management based approach, and then, for example, let's say we could have the HR security, and HR security talks about all about, for example, let's say contracts and what this contract mentions, what are the responsibilities which have been assigned to, how to say, a newly recruited employee, and so that again, I mean, we can just check that, I mean, how the check could be, let's say, seen from the HR part, for example, non-disclosure confidentiality agreement, that all goes within the contract, and then, I mean, of course, based on to that, we make it sure that, I mean, the employee which has joined in, he knows that what to be disclosed, what has not to be disclosed, what are his responsibilities. So of course, that again covered through this ISO 27001. It talks about the physical and the environmental security. For example, physical and then the logical, both kind of access, for example, access control, authentication, authorization, non-repudiation, all these are taken into account through this particular, I mean, standard. It talks about the communications and the operations management. It talks about full-fledged, I mean, access control. It talks about information systems development and maintenance. It talks about, for example, business continuity management, and of course, I mean, business continuity and disaster recovery is again one of the most important component of any business and to keep any business up and running. So there should be a redundant, how we can say, redundancy to be established and to be set up so that, for example, if anything happens on the main side, so the for example, disaster recovery side, we have an alternative where the business can be up and running, let's say, in a very short delay from the, for example, disaster recovery side. And then again, this particular standard talks about the compliance, and this compliance is, for example, this differs from country to country. There are, for example, different standards. So, for example, like in Mauritius, we are having a number of IT legislations, right from Data Protection Act to this Information and Communication Technology Act. Then we are having the Computer Misuse and Cyber Crime Act. Then we are having the Electronic Transaction Act. So once the ISO 27001 implementation is done, and then based on to setting up the controls, so the compliance from the different legislations are basically compared, and then it has been put according to that particular regulation which is in place, obviously into the country. And I think that could be same applies to India as well, and then other countries. So moving back, so these are the 11 main security categories of ISO 27001, and this is spread over 133 controls. So it means that every domain has a set of controls, and this is the controls which is set up within the organizations once we are going for the information security standard compliance. So I think this is something which is good to know. And now I'll be just moving back towards obviously the cycle of the ISO 27001 implementation, or this information security management system. So as I just said that this is the plan, do, check, and act approach, and this plan, do, check, and act approach, it's like a cycle. So once we are going for a standard compliance, so we talk about the gap assessment, we are talking about, for example, the risk assessment. Now, we are talking about, for example, the policy design or the procedure design, and then now we need to know that once we are talking about the cycle, where all these fall. So where it falls basically into the planning stage. So a planning stage is how we can say the first stage of ISO 27001 implementation, and going forward for information security standard compliance. This is one. Then we are having the do cycle and the check cycle and the act cycle approach. So I'll be talking shortly about each and every cycle. So these are the main cycles which we have into the ISO 27001 let's say compliance achievement, and of course I will say there is which is something important to know, that this information security management system could be implemented for a very how we can say small organization having 10 people, let's say, for example, or let's say an organization having 1,000 people or 2,000 people. So this is the flexibility which this particular standard has, where we are talking about that where it can be implemented and where it cannot be implemented. So this is something which we need to understand. This is a very flexible standard, and this can be implemented in, let's say, very small as well as in a very big organization. So moving back to the next slide. For example, if you look at that, this normally shows that how the compliance with any standard, and especially with ISO 27000 standard, how we can say starts. So the first thing which we need to understand is the scope. So into the stage of, for example, let's say the planning, we are talking about the scope. So the most important part into any information security standard compliance is setting up the scope. So a scope is dependent on to the number of services which are running. So which services we want to include, and of course, if we are running the services, so what normally we need is that we need to protect, how we can say, the running of those services. In order to operate those services, hardware is there, softwares are there, supporting applications are there, supporting tools are there, utilities are there, personals are working. So we need to assign the, and we need to localize and define the scope of how we call it, say, the organization once we are trying to implement ISO 27001. This is I think the first and the foremost important part. And then we go ahead with the establishing of ISMS. So establishing of ISMS, this talks about we are talking about risk assessment here, or we are talking about the gap analysis here. We are talking about the information security policy, or let's say policy design and the procedure design here. We are talking about a statement of applicability. This, I think I'll be talking about what a statement of applicability is. Just to understand the statement of applicability, this is a matching with the controls, and if these controls are already in place. So for example, let's say we are talking about 11 domains, and all these 11 domains, they have set of controls, and of course there are 133 controls. So not necessarily that any organization who is going to go for information security standard compliance based on ISO 27001 could have, let's say all 133 controls applicable to that organization. Could be, 100, could be, let's say 95, could be 110. But normally, let's say in most of the cases where, I have seen is that most of the time the standards, controls, the controls, they are more than 100 all the time. So this is the normal, let's say number of standards which an organization have to put up, let's say, in place once they are going ahead with the implementation of ISO 27001. So this is something, it is already there. And then we talk about the implementation. So implementation is the do part. What is there into the implementation? We'll be talking about it. Monitor and review. And then this is the check part, since once we have implemented. So same like as we are developing a software. So as like we have the SDLC cycle for a software, the similar kind of approach we have it here in the implementation of ISO 27001, which talks about the plan, which talks about the do part, which talks about the check part, and then maintain and improve. So surely, for example, that part of the act, and then we have the documentation, and the documentation, I think this is into one thing which I think we should note it down is that once we are talking about the implementation of information security standards, so this is a heavy documentation, base exercise. So for example, we have to have our documentation for plan state, we have to have the documentation for the do state, we have to have the documentation for the check state, we have to have the documentation for the act stage. And based on to that, it is a hefty and exercise where lots of documentation is there, and this is what makes it tedious and time consuming. This is, I think, something which we need to understand. And then we have the management responsibility, and management responsibility comes when, for example, of course, the dedication from the higher management in order to implement and move forward with how we will say the implementation. And of course, the training and awareness is important, so that people are able to let's say realize their role, and then they try to accept the ownership which has been assigned to them, so that the better ownership is defined for how we call, let's say, the standard compliance, the better control and the better protection organizations they can have within their, how let's say, premises. This is something important to understand. And then we are talking about the audits. So audit and audit is the integral part of the standard compliance, because we are talking about the internal audits here, that internal and the periodical audits which are done in order to let's say comply. That's why I have said that information security audit and the IS audits or IT audits could be that way. They forms a part of any information security standard compliance. So that is there in order to see that whatever the controls as per the PDCA cycle which have been put up in place in the organizations, they have been put up in the way they should have to be put up. This is the ISMS audits, and then the review. And the review, as I've just said, that is a part of the check. So I mean, we need to review. So I mean, how can we review? I mean, we could only review once the audit is done, and then the ISMS improvement. So whatever there are, how we can say, weaknesses, what the missing links which are there after, how we can say, reviewing and doing the audit. So this is what basically, how we can say, improved on into the ACT cycle. So I think, I mean, this is the complete, the plan, the do, the check ACT cycle, which I mean we have been talking about. So this is already there. I think I'm gonna have to be fast because I think I need to, I mean, let's say keep the time, and I'm having some around 50 minutes to, I mean, let's finish my presentation. So just coming quickly onto the scope. So define a scope, and that, I think that is a part of the let's say a plan part, information security policy. Then we talked about the risk assessment, and for risk assessment there are, how we say, a number of methodologies and which are there. I mean, right from the Octave to, I mean, many more, and then this is how risk assessment has to be defined. So normally what happens is that once we are talking about the risk assessment, so I mean we try to I mean, identify the threat agents, and the threat agents, what could be the threat agents, for example, let's say for let's say internet access, for example. So let's say we are running any particular service, what could be associated to it? For example, if there is a website, so I mean, it could be like, for example, there is a chance that, I mean, website could be defaced. For example, if you are having internet connection, so what is, how we can say, the guarantee that internet connection will not go down? Or let's say, I mean, what are the measures in place that, for example, if you are running any, for example, let's say financial transactions, so I mean, the importance is that we need to have the line all the time up and running, and if the telecommunication line goes down, so of course, I will say, I mean, the whole business stops. So this is the kind of threat agents we are talking about, and based on to the threat agents, its impact is defined. So I mean, of course, I mean, we calculate the risk, and that risk calculation is, I mean, likelihood into impact, and this is how we calculate the risk based on to the, I mean, a different methodology. And once, how we can say, risk is basically, I mean, analyzed. So then we see that if that particular risk is acceptable risk, or I mean, if it's not acceptable, if there is any residual risk again into that, so we need to treat. So it means that something which is known as risk treatment, and then risk assessment, risk treatment, and once we try to treat risk, so it means that once the risk is treated, it means the control is put up in place. For example, I mean, if we talk about physical access, so if talking about a physical access, and if there is a door, if I put up a lock onto that, it means that there is a control put up in place. If I want to have more stringent, I mean, access, I could put up, how will you say, a biometric control on top of that, or let's say numerical control on top of that. Maybe I can ask, let's say, a security guard to sit outside on top of that. So this is, I mean, depending on the sensitivity of the information, how sensitive information is, based on to that, we talk about the risk assessment. So it means that the risk has to be analyzed, risk has to be treated, and when it becomes acceptable risk, then normally, I mean, we go ahead with the implementation. So I mean, how do we define the acceptable risk? This is, I think, the question comes into our minds, and and this is, I mean, we are having a measuring scale. So it means that if the value is, for example, let's say, I mean, is less than 3 or equals to 3, for example, I mean, as it's been defined into the different methodologies, it means that risk is, that's, I mean, of course, likelihood into impact. Once we multiply that, and based on to that, when the value comes below the, I mean, let's say targeted value, then it means that risk is, I mean, acceptable. So, and acceptable only when, I mean, when there is, how we can say, numerical control. If there is no numerical control, so the risk assessment, I mean, of course, let's say the risk exposure is high, and when risk exposure is high, it means that it is not, I mean, let's say, I mean, acceptable. So I think these are the basics which we need to understand, and then we are talking about the identify and evaluate treatment of risk. So this is basically evaluated, and once, I mean, it is evaluated, this is, I mean, how we call risk treatment plans, which is a part of the risk information security and compliance. Select control objectives and controls for each risk treatment. For example, so that's why I've said into these 11 domains, there are 133 controls, and based on to 133 controls, I mean, we need to put up those controls. So there is something is known as a to-do list into the information security standard compliance, and that to-do list, it means that what is there, I mean, that is already in place, what is not there, that is being, I would say, into the stage of being put up in place. So that goes, whatever we have to do, whatever is not there and which is, is in progress. So that goes to, how we call say, to-do list. And this is what we say that select control objectives and controls for each to statement decision, and prepare a statement of applicability. So it means that a statement of applicability is something, is like a matching, exercise of the controls with the controls put up in place. So it means, okay, there is a door, and I want to secure this door, I want to put up the lock. So it means that that lock is here. It means I say that the lock is here. So now what happens again into the statement of applicability? That statement of applicability always justifies the reasoning that why we have it or why we don't have it. So it means that we have it. So if we have it, what we have it. So if we are talking about, let's say policies, do we have information security policy? Yes, we do have information security policy. We just, let's say, attach and we link that policy into the statement of applicability once we prepare this. So this is, how normally it goes on. So, looking at the scope, and this is the scope. Scope defines, for example, all types of information, and then I will say all types of services, and then I will say, and that is applied onto the number of, how we could say, types of, or the nature of business. Could be e-commerce, could be, internet-based, how we could say, services, or let's say organization, which is, how we can say, they're having much more, e-commerce type of, how we could say, business. Could be outsourcing, could be teleworking and mobile computing, including, how we could say, software development based organizations, networking based, could be anything. So depending on to the organization, we have to have, how we will say, that kind of scope to be defined, and the scope defines that, what are the areas, what is basically the boundary where the whole, how it will say, information security management system is going to be implemented. So I think this is the scope, and this was like the risk treatment plan, which already I think we have been talking about. So this is a risk treatment plan that including planned processes and procedures, implement risk treatment planning controls, training and awareness, which already I have talked about in the previous slide, manage operations and resources in line with ISMS, implement procedures for identification and response to security incidents. And I think, this is something really important, and that has to be taken care in and taken into consideration. Managing incidents. So for managing incidents, there could be a complete incident reporting procedures which are set internally, and within the organization I'm talking about. So there are reporting forms, and then I will say now there is, I will say, incident handling team. There are incident handlers. These incident handlers are handling the incidents within the organization, and then these incidents are escalated. So the complete incident management and handling is done by, for example, let's say a particular, how will say, a group of team within the organization. So this procedure and this, how will say, process and this flow needs to be set up within the organization in order to manage incidents internally, for example. So this is something important, and then this is like the implementation part. This is the check part. For example, let's see, we monitor the implementation, we test, we audit, we review, including the risk, and based on to that, this is how the compliance is into the stage of check, and this is how it goes on. Now, moving further with the for example, ISMS implementation does act part. Review findings from check, acts on the results of review to affect policy. Of course, this is what we said, that we need to check, and then we need to see that if there is any missing gap, so that needs to be filled. And then we are talking about the include actions required to address any change in factors affecting risk. So if there are any more controls that needs to be set up in order to make it secure. So then, I mean, we need to go ahead and then we just try to, I mean, implement that. So this is, I think, the part of the act, and I think this is a very, I mean, for example, beautiful slide, which talks about the stepwise approach of how we could say, I mean, attaining the information security standard compliance. So I think if I try to summarize that, whatever we have been talking about over all these slides, so we are saying that, for example, let's say step 1, define the policy, and that could be information security policy. It could be any other policy, for example, access control policy, for example, let's say internet usage policy, for example, email policy, backup policy, could be anything. So I mean, but I mean, all this has to be, could be change management policy, could be a HR policy, could be internal audit policy, could be a change management policy. So I mean, all these policies, they needs to be there, they needs to be implemented, and this is what basically define the policy. Second step is the define the scope. So I mean, as we said, I mean, what is scope has to be defined. So scope of ISMS and scope, I mean, this is defined in terms of, how you say, I mean, looking at the assets which we have and the services which are running. And step 3 basically, I think, talks about much more about the preparation and undertaking of risk assessment. So for example, how could we go for the risk management, and how we look at the threats and vulnerabilities and the impacts. So of course, I mean, we need to look at the threat agents. So once we look at the threat agents, so based on it, I mean, looking at the threat agents, then we talk about the impact. So for example, for this particular threat agent, this is the impact. For this particular threat agent, this is the impact. And based on to the impact only, we try to, I mean, analyze and then calculate risk. And based on the calculation, if let's say it is high, then we try to mitigate it. So I think this is the step 3, which goes about, which talks about the risk management, and that's based on to the risk acceptance criteria. And once the risk is accepted based on to the defined use case, and then, I mean, we go ahead with the, I mean, implementation. So this is that part, and then the, I mean, step 4, I mean, this is like degree of assurance required, means that this particular, how we call, control is in place, and that's the managed risk, and risk to be accepted. Step 5, and that's like, I mean, select control objectives and controls. So we are saying 133 controls. Based on to that, we try to see that what is there, what is not there. We have a to-do list, and then based on the to-do list, this is, I mean, going ahead with the, I mean, compliance. And risk treatment plan. This is, I mean, and then we have the last step, which is statement of applicability. So I mean, what I'm trying to, I mean, make you realize here is that this was the planning stage, and that's been, let's say, I mean, depicted in a, I mean, stepwise approach, which talks about that how do we go ahead with the, I mean, let's say the ISO 27001 information security standard compliance, and then based on to that, this is the planning. Then the do implementation, check the, I mean, review, act is, or let's say the improvement. So these are the cycles which are normally that goes, and this is the statement of applicability. This is what I've just said. And security controls needs to be identified, and we need to justify that, look, these are the appropriate controls which are already put up in place, and we meet, and then this is how we can secure the, I mean, a complete organizational information infrastructure, and then relate selection of controls and reason for selection back to risk treatment plan. So this is, I mean, now based on to the risk, I mean, we need to, I mean, how to say, match with the, I mean, statement of applicability, and then in practice there's a link between selection of controls to statements in ISMS policies. So this is, I think, something which we documentation. So for example, for achieving any compliance for any risk standard or information security standards, I mean, there's a documentation plan, and that documentation plan talks about, for example, in case of ISO, we could have, I mean, asset register. This is one thing. Based on to the asset register, we could have the risk treatment plans. The risk treatment plans is again a documentation. Then we could have the policies. So we could have plenty of policies in order to fill up the compliance part. Then we could have the procedures. So procedures could be, again, I mean, let's say mini. That's again the part of documentation. Now, for example, risk acceptance criteria, so that's RTP. Then we have the, statement of applicability, that's another documentation. So, based on to that, this is all part of the documentation. Then in this, again, in the policy, there is, let's say documentation and confidentiality of information classification could be, let's say, secret, could be top secret, could be restricted, could be confidential. So these kind of criteria are there. Based on to that goes on. Now then, like document control. So this is like standard format for let's say preparing the whole documentation. For example, authorization. It means that as normally we used to have in every documentation, where the document, let's say, creation history is mentioned, and the which version of the document, what is the change history format. So this is the part of a documentation, and again, this is the part of how we call it, say, the documentation of how we call say information security standard compliance, and this is basically the ISMS project roadmap. So I think you have seen into the previous slides whatever I have been discussing, that right from plan, the do and the check act. So what comes where? So if you look at the red line, that's the board approval. So everything that starts, for example, once we have agreed to the scope, the policies are defined, inventory is already asset inventory. It means that asset register is there, risk assessment is there. Based on that, statement of applicability, and based on that is all approved, and then we move further for how we say the do and the check and the act. So now, one thing which I wanted to share that there is something is known as these information security standard certifications. So for example, once you certify to ISO 27001, or let's say Sarbanes-Oxley, or let's say HIPAA, or could be let's say another standard ISO 27035. So it means that there are certification bodies, so they come and they certify you, and this is what is basically adds value to how we could say customer value for how we could say organizations. Those are customer oriented organizations, and which are product based organizations where products are developed and they are sold. So or services which are provided like that. So it means that this certification will be surely, one point is that it is going to protect the information, it's going to define the ownership, plus obviously is bringing obviously much more value in terms of business. So I think this is the most important part of this ISO 27001 or any information security standard compliance, that it adds value in terms of securing your infrastructure, and of course particularly the information and the data, plus obviously it brings back obviously the assurance to the customers that look, they are obviously ISO 27001 certified organization. So surely obviously their controls are being put up in place. So doing business with them is much more secure as compared to any other organization. So it means that the controls are in place, and I think this is one of the most important part which we need to understand why we have to go for information security standard compliance. Compliance is, of course, because compliance talks about not only let's say how to say bringing business, but compliance talks much more about securing and protecting data. So this is it. And then I think this is a slide which is interesting, and in terms of, like, for example, senior management support. This I mentioned right in the beginning of the presentation, that unless and until we don't have the top management support, I think driving these kind of, how we call it, projects is pretty hard, because at the end of the day, we have to have the gap assessment done, and looks, we need to visualize and we need to identify the cost which is required in order to implement that. I think this is something again we can touch on here quickly, that the cost involved. So surely for implementing, or let's say for going towards information security standard compliance, there are different costs involved for the organization. It means if the controls are not there, those controls, they need to be procured, they need to be purchased in order to be put up in place. So of course, I will say we need to invest into that. So this is what we need to analyze, and this is what we are seeing, that this is how this could be done while doing the gap analysis. So the gap analysis again it's a full-fledged cycle into the gap analysis, because I mean we have to analyze. There is scoping. There is obviously identify the areas where we have to identify the gaps. So we have to set up the teams again there. So again for the gap analysis, there should be obviously a full-fledged team that gets the setup in order to do the gap analysis. So this is like a complete compliance field, which in short and briefly I have discussed right here. And then these are some milestones in order to see that into the implementation of the compliance, how it goes on. So one thing is something is known as the completion of statement of applicability. So since we have reached here, it means that the planning part is over. Initial procedure implementation. So it means that if we are here, it means that we are talking about the do part. First cycle of system audits. It means that once we are here, so we are talking about the check part. So these are some milestones to see that, and of course, we have to have, let's say, a complete, schedule and the Gantt chart for how we could say, and this is not information security. Let's say how to say time management basically of all the different cycles which we need to go ahead, and we talk about each and every cycle. Of course, how to say initiation time and the completion time. So a complete project management part, and that is has to be there. And just coming back to the policy and design, so there are a number of policies which could be related to the from organization to organization, or the basic and the most common policies which are there is here, because now again we need to see that what we're talking about. We're talking about the if established network, we're talking about the wireless network, we're talking about the mobile devices. So we are talking about the tablets, we are talking about, for example, how these tablets are moving. If we are talking about the bring your own devices, where, and for example, again for that policy needs to be defined. So all these are there, but right from acceptable use, you could just see that some 10, 11 policies are mentioned onto this particular slide, and all these will be required in order to, let's say, comply to that particular standard. And this could be broken down into two parts. One could be a policy, one could be the procedural, let's say procedures, which could be, let's say, developed in order to support those policies. So this is how it goes on. And I think I have reached to my last slide, and here I could wanted to discuss more, but I think the time won't permit me to go ahead that way. Information security audit. This is information security audit is of course a full-fledged an area which we are talking about information systems audit and control. So the whole ideology behind information security audit is to identify the gaps. This is one, because for example, if we talk about from the network, if we talk about the for example applications, if we talk about, for example, let's say utilities. So now we need to see from how we can say could be a network-based audit, could be information security-based audit, where we can go from how we can say from the perspective of access control, authentication, and authorization. Now, if it is not gap, if it is a compliance audit, so based on to ISO 27001, we can audit the organization. Seeing that, look, these are the weaknesses. Now within this, we could have the vulnerability scanning, we can have the pen test, we can run how we say another how we say some few more how we could say tracking tools of the how the access is granted. So look at the for example ADs and all, how the access is defined. For example, if let's say any particular employee has left, if his how we call it say access rights have been removed or not. So something like that. So it's a full-fledged chapter here, which cannot be talked in just a few minutes, but of course the idea is here. And I think the last part where I wanted to touch in is this is something information security strategy, and this is something of let's say paramount importance, because without information security strategy of the organization, we will not exactly know that, I mean, how could we proceed in order to implement and in order to secure our assets in a better way. So that's why information security strategy is required, and normally what happens in the information security strategy is that we need to define the strategy goals, and these strategy goals are classified in terms of, let's say, goals or objectives, and those objectives, based on to those objectives, we try to identify let's say, the areas and which needs to be addressed, and based on to that we try to put up the control in terms of, for example, hardware or, let's say, application which could support, for example, intrusion prevention system, for example. So I mean, plus based on how it will say different encryption based, technology, for example, let's say encrypting the channel, for example, let's say putting up the PGP, for example, putting up how we call it, say, using the digital signatures, for example. So all these could be formed a part of information security strategy. Information security strategy basically could be dealt at the level of the organization. Information security strategy could be dealt at the national level. So depending on the nature of strategy we are talking about, accordingly the scope will be localized. I think, this is the last part which I wanted to share with the attendees, and then I think I have reached to the end of my presentation, and this is end of my presentation, and this is my contact address. Apart from that, my official email again is that kosmani@crtser-mu.gov.mu. That's basically my CERT Mauritius email address, and I think with this I'm over with my presentation. I hand over to Mohini again if there are any questions. So I can take up it now. Thank you so much for paying your attention for my presentation. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for the insightful presentation, Mr. Kaleem. Our users have sent a lot of questions. Let's quickly start answering them. I hope you can see the questions in your questions pane. I've started assigning you the questions already.
Wait. This, they are not, I think, can I just expand this window? So next. For example, I think the first question is it is possible to attack the stock market server down or change all information or lost all data stock markets? I think this is okay, Mohini? Hello?
Yeah, that is the first question.
All right. In fact, I think if I look at this question, so we are talking much more about the information security standard compliance. So surely in terms of if you're talking about attacks, so anything can be attacked, of course, and this is what we are trying to prevent. So we cannot say that a particular stock exchange cannot be attacked. So because attackers, if you look at the stats, they just keep on pinging, they keep on crying to attack, how we could say, any particular, how we could say, service. And the live example is that I've just given right in the beginning of my presentation, that where Chinese attackers, they're trying to attack, how we could say, US-based networks, even the stock exchange. I'm talking about the same applies in India, same applies elsewhere. So of course, anything could be attacked, and the information can be changed, or that can be stolen. But only the important part here is that this is what we are trying to talk about, compliance. And once we have a compliance, so there are less chances of how we're going to see getting compromised. I think this is my answer to this question. Can I move to the next one, Mohini?
You can continue with answering all the questions.
Okay, this is. how much, I mean, next question is that how much is spent on risk assessment. So I mean, this again, I mean, I think this is a very subjective question, and how can I answer is that, I mean, it again depends on the size of the organization, and basically it all depends on how the consultants are charging to their services. So I mean, this is again very subjective, and it's very hard to define that. I mean, how do we normally spend onto the risk assessment? Because I mean, I think one thing which we should normally understand is that risk assessment is a very complex exercise, and it's a very time-consuming exercise. And once it is there, so surely, how we can say, I mean, risk assessment take lots of money, and I think this is the, I mean, let's say, the most expensive part of, how we will say, any risk compliance. Because I mean, this is how we say that once we are talking about the information security standard compliance, so the risk compliance itself is a chapter in itself which talks about, I mean, how the risk can be treated. And for treating, I mean, the risk, surely, how we will say, I mean, that costs money. So I mean, it's very hard for me to answer that how much it will cost, and surely, I mean, it depends, I mean, on organization to organization, and depends on the scope. So once we have the scope in front of, how we will say, I mean, us, and then we try to visualize, then surely I'll be able to say that, I mean, how much is going to cost. So this is, I think, the answer to this question. Okay. So I mean, now the next question is, what is the difference between the ISO 27001 standards and OWASP checklist, which is better and why? So I mean, see, once we are talking about the ISO 27001, ISO 27001 is a, I mean, compliance standard which talks about right from, how we will say, physical access till the regulatory compliance. But once we are talking about the OWASP, OWASP is a checklist which talks about vulnerabilities, and this is much more applied to, how we will say, I mean, web-based solutions. So where, how we will say, OWASP talks about the vulnerabilities and how these vulnerabilities can be dealt. So I mean, let's say the correlation between, how we will say, these two is a bit different, and both are used for, how we will say, different I mean, reasons, and that's why I think, I mean, it's very hard at this stage to differentiate between these two, because these are two different streams, and then accordingly, how we will say, I mean, we look at that. And OWASP is for the web-based application. ISO could be for, how we will say, total organization, all services. So OWASP could be one, let's say, OWASP-based services could be one among them, which could be running, where, how we will say, OWASP checklist could be followed. And normally, how we will say, OWASP checklist again, for example, let's say if I'm talking about, let's say, a cloud-based environment. If I'm talking about, for example, let's say, I mean, private cloud, or let's say if I'm talking about a public cloud, there, I mean, I can consider, I mean, talking about the OWASP checklist, and I need to see that, I mean, if the OWASP checklist is basically followed. So I think this is the answer to I mean, this question. Now the next question is, how can one gain the title of an ISO 27001 auditor, or is this earned only by organization? So I mean, I think this is a question where somebody is trying to ask that how he can become ISO 27001 audited. So I mean, for this, I mean, we are having a specialized course that is known as ISO 27001 lead auditors course, and then, how we will say, this lead auditors course are normally I mean, organized by different, how we will say, agencies. For example, in India, which I know is STQC, and STQC is one of the departments of Ministry of Communications and IT, and these people, they are specialized into standardization, testing, and quality, and they are running a full-fledged institute in India, and they normally organize this certification from time to time. So I mean, those who are interested, so surely they could follow, I mean, they could access their website, STQC website, or this government of, I mean, Ministry of IT, I think ICT site, and they will know that when they have the exam, and they could appear for the exam. And I think one thing which I wanted to add more into ISO 27001 lead auditor course is that this is a 4 to 5 day program depending on to the length. And then there is an open book, how we can say, exam, which is based on the 4 to 5 days course which normally a person follow, and based on to that the person is assessed. So I think this is the answer to the next question. Can we, I think the next question is, can we implement ISO 27001 standards for web application as well? So because this is what I'm saying, that for example, let's say anything, because what is a web application? Web application is that how we are keeping, how we can say, our website safe. So of course we can always do that. The reason is that website is hosted maybe at the ISP side, or maybe if we are talking about the intranet website, it could be hosted at your level. So in that case, we need to see that if the information of that website is intact and secure. So how it could be secure? It could be only secure once we have the proper control and the ownership defined in order to do that. So my answer is yes, we can always do that. I'll take up the next question. For example, what are the emergency steps that shall be taken if an organization is under threat or attack? This is a question where I think I could add more, because I'm from the team which is a computer emergency response team, and this is what we do all the time. We have to have a proper incident handling mechanism to be put up in place, and that incident handling mechanism talks about how could we handle incidents. And for example, there could be reactive and the proactive. So we are talking about the proactive measures here and not the reactive measures. So because if we have to stop any particular threat, or let's say, I think this is, we are talking about much more a reactive. If an organization is under threat or attack, so it's much more like a reactive measure. So reactive measure means that if an attack is launched, and if it's happening or is escalated onto, let's say, a particular network, so how could we stop it? So I think for that, incident handling is the answer. We have to have a full-fledged incident handling team. We have to have, for example, let's say, some forensic tools available, and based on to that, we'll be easily able to identify the threats and we'll be able to manage the attack which is online. So let me take up the next question. Now the next question is, how do we use SIEM tool to monitor continuously ISO 27000 compliance level in the organization? So of course, this is SIEM tool. Once we are talking about, this is much more like a witness tool which reviews, how we can say, all the controls. And once we are talking about all the controls, this is what it does. What it checks is that which control stands to what level of, how we can say, completeness. And based on to that, because what happens that once the organization has implemented the information security management compliance standard, could be ISO 27001. So when it is implemented, then over time, now we need to see and how we can say, and need to review and maintain, how we can say, those controls which have been put up in place. So using, how we can say, SIEM tool will be able to monitor, how we can say, continuously, yes. At the same time, we'll be able to, how we can say, find out any particular, how we can say, weakness which is there into that particular control. So this is again what we could do using the SIEM tool. Now I'll take the next question. What type of a security? I think the next question is, what type of a security certification is required in SAP data center environment? So I think this is not really relevant to for example the topic here. So for the SAP data center environment, it could be certification based on to the for example the type of obviously systems and applications which are running in order to support SAP data center environment. So I mean, I think the SAP certification is the first and the foremost, and plus I mean whatever the technologies are behind, I mean let's say to that data center, and that can always be taken further. How to start, I think, I mean, career in IT security. What is the scope, and CCNA, CCSP, and CSCCH says, are these courses milestone for the same? Please guide in the correct path. Thank you in advance. So, I mean, of course, like, for example, I mean, as far as I know about India, I think there the certification and certification, they plays a very important role in order to secure job. And of course, I mean, in order to move ahead into the IT security certification, like for example, CH will be good. CCNA, CCSP, and CSC, they are much more like for the networking. So surely, I mean, networking, again, you need to know if you have to be IT security expert. So CISM, this is basically from ISACA, and CISSP from ISC Square. All these certifications, so I mean, of course, not all these, but I mean, could be a few of these will be really helpful if somebody wants to start the certification. I mean, not, I mean, a career into IT security. How do we plan effective ISMS for small organizations with only 1 or 2 IT persons is there? So I mean, I think, I mean, this is the question which I had in mind, and I think finally it has been asked here. Because I mean, as I'm seeing that ISMS, and especially based on ISO 27001, is purely, I mean, a standard which is very flexible. Even it could go into very small organization. So full-fledgedly, I mean, if even I was an organization having 1 or 2 people, there the procedures needs to be there, policies needs to be there, and then of course I will say the system needs to be there. So I mean, even though there it can be used, there it can be applied, and there people they can always use it. So I mean, even if it's a small organization, the scope is there, the business is there, the services are running, and what normally it does is that it basically uses in order to, I mean, secure the services, secure the information, secure the hardware, secure the software. So even 1 or 2, even 3, I mean, that goes on. So it means that we can always apply ISMS. So this is my argument that always we can do it. Even how to say an organization is consists of 1 or 2 people. I mean, I think for this question, what precautions can we take at desktop level for security, and how do identify and prevent spywares at desktop level? I think, I mean, my answer for this question is, how we can say, I mean, the proper authentication, or let's say access control. So access control should be such, I mean, let's say if any particular machine is into the network environment, and which is basically an environment where less people they go into that room where the machine is installed. So I think there should be a full-fledged, how to say, log management, where, I mean, every person who uses that machine has to be properly logged in, and for the log for that machine, or let's say, I mean, any other machine which is there, how to say, within the operational, I mean, network, that has to be checked from time to time, and then I will say the registries needs to be checked from time to time, so that we know that there is no spywares which are installed onto those machines. I think this is our answer to this question. Yes, of course. I mean, now next question was, is application level security is security also a part of ISMS? Yes, it is. It is a part of how we call say information security management system, because it includes everything. It talks about, that's why once we prepare the asset register, we do have how we call say the section where we are talking about which are the applications and who are the owners of that application. So that goes on very well along here, and this is the answer for this question. Now another question is, how can RB ISMS is different than ITIL? It's similar or different framework. I mean, see, ITIL is a framework, and how we say ITIL framework is for how we say service management, and ISMS is information security standards. So I mean, of course, I mean these are two different things. One is a framework, and one is the compliance standard, or this is information security standard. Information security standard talks about that how the risks can be managed, how risk can be mitigated, and how the protection to the complete organization assets can be, can be given or can be protected. But in terms of ITIL is much more, is a service level management. It means that how the services can be improved. It means that how the operations are up and running all the time. So ITIL, talks much more from the service orientation part, and ISMS talks much more from the asset protection part. So I think this is the answer for this question. I want to understand, the next question was, I want to understand how by following ISMS practice organization can reduce risk of hacking. Of course, because what we are normally doing by implementing ISMS is that we are trying to check, and we are trying to check how all the inlets and the exits of the network and the systems which are running onto that. Hello. Hello.
Yeah, Mr. Kaleem, you're audible now.
Hello. Yes. So based on to that, you can always reduce risk, and then surely ISMS helps that way. And once we have the ISMS, and the whole ideology and the philosophy of implementing ISMS is to prevent from attacks. Because how can you prevent from attacks? You can prevent from attacks while how we can say, putting a tight security around your devices, and for example your networking components. So based on to that, it can always be protected. So I think this is the answer to this question. Next. For example, what are the latest certifications for information security? I think this is, there are many in fact. The certification from ISACA, right from let's say CISA to then CISM, and then for example certifications from ISC Square, and then certifications from CH. There are many more certifications, for example certified ethical hacker, forensic investigator, penetration tester, disaster recovery professional, and so penetration tester, vulnerability, VAPT, vulnerability assessment and penetration tester. So there are number of tools which certifications I should say they are there, and these are the latest certifications which can be of course done for those who wants to pursue their career into information security. So this is the this is major difference between the ISO 27001 and ISE 3402, and I think ISO 27000 talks much more asset based and the event based as compared to, for example, let's say ISA 3402, which talks much more about how it will say the services which are there within the organization, and they are protected. So I think according to me, this is the major difference between the ISO 27001 and the ISA 3402. So I think Mohini, this was the last question. Hello.
Well, yeah, those were the only questions we had, Mr. Kaleem. Thank you so much for answering them and giving our users an insight into their queries.
It's pleasure, Mohini. It's pleasure.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I would also like to thank all our participants for their support in making this webinar a success. The recording of this session would be available on techgeek.com by tomorrow. Thank you all. Have a great evening.
Okay. Surely, Mohini, I need to, let's say, I need to email you for something else, and I'll be doing that.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you.